Hello, ma'am.
अरे come.
New office?
Yes. प्लान करके बजट करके फिर लिया है।
Wow, that's nice.
4 महीने तो पूछो ही मत, मतलब क्या सीन हुआ था, बस चालू ही था सब।
But worth है, इतना सब किया लेकिन जो घर बनाया बेस्ट।
थैंक यू। फाइनली प्लान करके बजट करके फिर लिया है। तो ये सब जबरदस्त फीचर है मेरे नए कार के। क्या बात है। फिर प्लान।
Hey folks, CA Rachana Ranade here and I welcome you all to a very important and interesting video wherein we are going to do a 360-degree analysis relating to buying a car, whether it is good, whether it is bad, and not only that, we are going to talk about multiple factors like how should you budget a car, is there any thumb rule that you have to use while buying a car, what is the ideal time when you should purchase a car. We are also going to discuss about how could you finance a car and very important, what are various other factors that you should consider before buying a car. You know, before I move on to all these factors, I would love to share this photograph with you all. This was me about buying my very own first car. But you know, to be honest, like everyone else, when we had posted this on our social media handles, a typical tagline, something like a new member added to our family is what even I had used, right? So there are a lot of emotional angles involved whenever you buy a car. So in today's video, we are not only going to talk about the quantitative factors, we are also going to talk about qualitative factors about buying a car. Now, if you decide to buy a car, very important thing is that you should have a proper budget for that. You should ensure that you don't overboard, you don't exceed the budgeted amount. Now, why is that so? Because please understand that there are two types of assets. One is a depreciating asset and one is an appreciating asset. What could be the examples of that? What is the meaning of that? Depreciating asset is typically an asset whose value depreciates or goes down over the period of its life. Whereas appreciating asset, exactly opposite, ideally the value will go up, right? But then what could be the examples of depreciating asset? The simple example that we are discussing about, car is a depreciating asset. If I am talking about appreciating assets, what could be the examples? It could be something like gold, real estate, or for that matter, it could also be about stocks, mutual funds, right? All these could be ideally appreciating assets. Now, please understand, if you invest more, if you spend more rather than what your budget was in a depreciating asset, could that actually destroy your entire financial plan? Answer is yes. But if you spend a little bit more in appreciating assets, that's not going to create a very big problem, right? But now if you know about all these basics and now that you have understood that, okay, I understand that I have to have a budget for my car, but then which car should I buy? This or this or this? But nope. You should understand that you have to have a proper thumb rule to create your own budget. What could be the thumb rule? Thumb rule typically says it should be a 20-4-10 thumb rule. Now, what is this? If you were to budget for your car, ideally 20% of the total value, value means what? On-road price. Okay, 20% of the on-road price is ideally the down payment that you are required to make. Are you able to pay that down payment or not? That should be your first criteria while budgeting the car. Okay, then what is this 4? 4 is nothing but ideally the number of years within which you repay the car loan should be 4, right? And what is this 10? 10 is nothing but ideally whatever is your monthly income, uska maximum 10% should go for your EMI payments, right? So that is all about the 20-4-10 rule. But then it would be great if I give some examples based on your income, right? We'll do that in the immediate next section of the video. Now, if a person has decided that he or she is going to buy his or her own car, then what could be the value of the car based on the monthly income is what we are going to discuss right now. Have a look at this table. By the way, whatever discussion we are doing, we have assumed that the car loan interest will be at 7.5%, right? So, assume that your annual income is in the range of 6 to 10 lakhs. In case of Mr. B or Ms. B, I have taken that the annual income range is 10 to 18 lakhs and for C it is above 18 lakhs, right? So first, now this is the range, this is just for your understanding so that you can decide where do you fit in, okay, whether you are in the category of A or whether you are in the category of B or C. But if I were to do a concrete calculation, I need to take a single figure. So for A, I have taken the annual income as 7 lakh, for B 15 lakhs and for C 24 lakhs. I'm sure you might be like, Arey Rachana, but what about below 6 lakhs? Well, if you ask me, my personal opinion, if a person's income is below 6 lakh, assuming that he or she is the sole breadwinner in the family with some responsibilities, then ideally this is not the right time to buy a car. That person can think about taking it on rent, only need based, right? But buying a car ideally is not an option for such a person, is what my personal opinion is. Okay. Going ahead with the example, if annual income for A is 7 lakh, then obviously monthly income divided by 12 comes to, for A, B, C. I've calculated it by dividing it by 12, right? Now assume that Mr. A feels that, okay, I should buy a specific XYZ car, and the car value, again on road price I'm talking about, is 6 lakhs. B has chosen a car whose on road price is 12 lakh and C 20 lakhs. Okay. Now going back to our rule of 20-4-10. Ideally, what will be the down payment? Down payment will be like 1,20,000, 2,40,000 and 4 lakh respectively. How 1,20,000? It will be 6 lakh ka 20%. Simple enough, right? Then we have calculated the loan amount. Loan amount will be simple. 6 lakh minus 1,20,000, that will be 4,80,000. Same for B and same for C, right? Now what will be the EMI? EMI will be 11,605 for A, 23,211 for B and 38,686 for C. Now we have used the normal PMT formula for that, and based on that we have calculated the EMI. As I mentioned, car loan interest rate is assumed at 7.5%, right? Now comes the big question. If you remember, it was 24 and 10, and what was that last 10? Last 10 was that ideally your EMI amount should not exceed 10% of your monthly income. Now if you calculate 11,605 divided by 58,333, then your EMI comes at 20% of your monthly income. For B and C, it is going to 19% of your monthly income, and that is why if I am taking this 10% ka slab as per our rule, which are all these figures, then there is a shortfall of 5,700 roughly, 10,700 roughly and 18,600 roughly for A, B and C, and in this case they will not be able to buy the car of this value, neither A nor B nor C. What was causing the problem? Was in the rule of 24-10, was it 20 which was causing the problem? No. Was it 4? No. Was it 10? Yes. As per this rule, out of your total income, not more than 10% should go towards the repayment of EMI for your car loan, right? But then what is this kind of expenditure? Can I say this is like your need or just like your want? Obviously, it's like a want. It's not a necessity. It's a luxury spending that we are discussing right now. Correct? Now, in this case, is there any other rule which can take care of luxury spending? And answer is obviously yes. What is that? It's the 50-30-20 rule. Remember watching this video? No. If you have not, first watch this video and then you can surely watch this video wherein I have told that out of your total income, 50% can go towards your needs, 30% can go towards your wants and 20% mandatory savings and investment, right? Now, this 30%, if I replace with the 10% in our original rule, can the entire math change? Yes, we are going to go towards that, but wait, before that. Now, going on to our original down payment figure. What was the down payment figure? If you remember, that was 1,20,000 rupees. Now, the big question, if I don't have that 1,20,000 rupees, then what? Am I going to just liquidate or premature some of my FDs and just pay that amount? That would be a bad financial planning, right? Ideally, you should be setting aside some amount, make sure that you have that 1,20,000 with you and then think about the down payment, right? But then how much should I save? For how many months should I save so that I get my down payment amount of 1,20,000 is the big question right now, correct? Let's do some simple mathematics. How much was my monthly income? It was 58,333, right? Now, if you remember 50-30-20 rule, 30% I am allowed to use for my wants, for my luxuries. So, 58,333 into 30% will come roughly around 17,500, correct? Now, per month 17,500 I am allowed to set aside for my down payment ka, pool, right? How much money did I require? 1,20,000. So, 1,20,000 divided by 17,500, if I do that, that is coming roughly around 6.85, so around 7 months. In simple words, ideally, I should be systematically keeping aside 17,500 so that at the end of 7 months, I'll have a pool of roughly 1,20,000 rupees which I can utilize to do the down payment. Well, here comes the revised calculation in the CARR way of 50-30-20. But if you remember, the problem was only with the last point of 10 and that we are revising it with 30%. So even if I say 30% of my monthly income goes to 17,500 for A, 37,500 for B and 60,000 for C, now we are left with a surplus. See, surplus basically means that in this case, it's still roughly coming out to 20% and year 19 and 19% of your monthly salary. In simple words, with the CARR way, you will be able to buy a dream car. Well, I hope with this elaborate example, you have understood that based on your income level, what could be the range of the car that you can buy. But is that the only cost that you should keep in your mind while buying the car? The answer is no. There are many other costs which are involved while buying a car, or in fact, even after you buy the car, there are a lot of recurring expenses. Like what? The very first recurring expense type that we can talk about is something like petrol or diesel. Again, understand, if you go for high-end cars, ideally the average or the mileage is less, you end up spending more on petrol or diesel. Second one could be something like insurance. Again, higher the value of the car, higher will be your insurance amount. Third one could be something like your maintenance. Again, same thing. Higher the car, higher end the car, then you will be paying more and more in maintenance. Some expenses irrespective of the size of the car could be something like parking fees, it could be something like toll charges. So all these are your recurring expenses that you will have to bear. Keep that in your mind. Second one could be something like uncontrollable expenses. Inadvertently, by mistake, if you park the car in a no parking zone, you are going to pay some fine for that as well, right? So this could be a simple example of an uncontrollable expense. The third one can be something like an opportunity cost. So instead of buying the car or instead of paying all those EMIs and down payments, had you taken a decision to even keep that money in saving account, your money would have in fact increased by 2.5% or 3%. Had you done an FD, the amount would have been higher. Had you invested it in a smarter way, it could have gone much higher. So always remember, it's an A or B decision. The moment you are taking a decision to buy a car, you are going to have some opportunity cost also which will be involved in it. Now let's try and understand what could be the ideal age to buy your first car. Well, to be honest, there is no ideal age or ideal time to buy your first car, but I can surely help you out with a methodology, with a structured way of thinking through which it can make life easier for you to take a decision of whether you should buy a car or not. Okay, first things first, you should check whether you can really afford to buy a car or not. That is nothing but the quantitative factors that you should check. All those points that we discussed in the first half of the video, the 20-4-10 rule and 50-30 rule and all that, right? So first things first, can you afford to buy a car? Yes, no. If your answer is no, baat khatam, don't buy a car right now. Dil chota mat karo. Does this mean that you can't buy a car anytime in your life? No. It means that just wait till you can really afford to buy the car. Save for a few more years and then you can take a decision of buying a car or not, right? Now let's come to scenario number 2. Yes, you can afford to buy a car. Now, please understand, just because you can afford to buy a car, are you immediately going to go and jump and take the decision of buying a car? Answer is no. Okay. Now here come few qualitative factors that you have to consider. I'm going to talk about 4 qualitative factors first. Number 1 could be something like your family needs. Assume that you have senior citizens at home who can require medical emergency at any point of day or night. In such a case, a person may feel more comfortable if that person owns a car. That's a qualitative factor number 1. One more example of this is, let's say you have a pregnant lady at home who could need hospitalization at any point in time. Again, that time you would be mentally more comfortable if you own a car. Second point could be safety. Assume that again one of your family members did have a corona in the last few months and now you don't want that to reoccur any time further, and that is the reason why you would be more comfortable traveling in your own car rather than choosing using a public transport. Possibility number 3, nothing doing, no family requirement, no safety, nothing, but you are absolutely mad about cars, you are crazy about cars. That could also be a qualitative factor. Or the 4th qualitative factor could be something like, can investing in a car help you to get new business? Now you might be like, why Rachana is saying investing in a car to get new business? I'm sure there would be few people who would say like, don't judge a book by its cover and something like that. Let me first explain my example. Assume that you are into the sales and marketing job, okay? If you have already done such jobs and if you have ever pitched elite clients, high value clients, many a times unfortunate truth is that those people will judge you by which car you are coming from, what clothes are you wearing, what gadgets you are bringing along, right? And based on that, one of the factor for them taking a decision can be whether you have that fancy stuff or not. Okay. In such a case, if you have a decent enough car, if you feel that such a car can help you to get new business, that can also be considered as a qualitative factor, right? I hope all 4 qualitative factors are very well understood. Now, I believe that if majority or all of these qualitative factors are met, then ideally you should buy a car, but in the CARR way. CARR way is that quantitative factors as well, right? But if neither of your qualitative factors are met, then ideally what? Ideally you should not go ahead and buy the car. In that case, ideally you can decide to take the car on rent based on a need-based scenario. I hope with this entire flowchart, you will be in a position to take a good decision by proper and systematic thought process. Now comes the question as to how should you finance your car. So, 2 possibilities, do take a loan and buy a car, or possibility number 2, cash down. Now, for that decision, let me divide the people into 2 categories. Number 1, you are a salaried person. Number 2, you are a businessman. Now, if you are a salaried person, and very important, if you are a financially literate person, you should ideally not take a loan to buy a car. Ideally, you should do goal-based investing. Means what? Whatever is the amount of EMI, that amount you should instead do an SIP in some mutual fund which can fetch you somewhere around 10 to 12% returns. So, something like an index fund, so that the final amount that the mutual fund will fetch, that you can use to buy your dream car. In simple words, buy a car without any financial burden on your part. But if you are a business owner and assume you can prove that yes, you require that car for your business as well, then the depreciation on the car, you can take that as an expense. Even if you are taking that car on a loan, then interest on that loan also you will be eligible to take as a deduction. So, if you are a businessman, this 1 or 2 angle come as an extra point while taking that final decision, right? One small additional point if you are a businessman. Now, assume that I am a businessman, I can do a cash down. Still, I might not do that. Why? Assume I can get a car loan at 8%, while I believe that I can generate at least 10% return from my own business. For those who are learning CA, this is something like IRR. I can generate 10% from my own business. Why should I block my entire working capital and use it for a cash down payment? So, instead, I might go ahead with a car loan. So, I hope you have understood both these angles for a salaried person and for a businessman as well. Well, now that you have understood everything about how to budget a car, when to buy it, what are the costs associated with buying a car, the advantages, now let's discuss the last but not the least part, which is about the car resale. Well, normally car resale is one of the toughest tasks to execute due to various reasons. Something like there's no assured guaranteed value at the end of the life of the car. Finding a right or a correct buyer can be a challenge. There could be a lot of price negotiations which can be involved, and finally with the launch of EVs, you might not be sure whether you might get the right value for your car or not. Well, having a number of issues with related to car resale, is there any alternative option wherein or any scheme which can guarantee us about the value of the car after a certain period of use? And answer is yes. Mercedes has launched its Star Agility program, which assures you up to 60% of the car value as the buyback price at the time of purchase of the car. Obviously, there are certain terms and conditions like how is the condition of the car, what are the number of kilometers run, some other factors as well. But the Star Agility program makes luxury owning experience much more flexible and convenient, as it provides buyers with 3 choices at the time of purchasing the car itself. Possibility number 1, you can upgrade to a new vehicle. Possibility number 2, you can keep the vehicle. And possibility number 3, you can also return the vehicle. The best part is you don't need to decide at the time of purchase. Well, you can think and decide at the time of the end of the tenure as well. Because of the assured value of the car, the monthly commitment is up to 40% lower as compared to the other standard financing options which are available in the market. So, if you want to know more about this, don't forget to check out the link in the description below. Well, I hope I was able to give you a 360-degree perspective about how you can plan to buy your own car. I hope you have understood about all the quantitative factors and the qualitative factors as well. Based on that, I hope you will be able to choose a car which suits your bar. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it with your friends. And if you want to know more about how to decide whether you should buy or rent a house, you can click here. If you want to know more about top 10 financial concepts that everyone must know, you can click here. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.